Hey everybody, Tony D and Little Joan with your Hollywood hot take and Wonder Woman. what? What? Um no, this story is really about why DC is apparently laying off a bunch of its staff. I think it's probably because of comics like this. Yes, that's an actual cover from Wonder Woman. This is supposedly a prequel to Wonder Woman 1984. As you can see, this character looks nothing like Gal Gadot. Uh, it it's some sort of tribute to different body types or some progressive BS. Um, this person has zero sense of what's from the 80s. Now, Bleeding or Bounding in the Comics has some alternate ones. This should have been a 1984 one. This is a parody of a famous artist named Patrick Nagel, who used to do all these sexy, washed out girl paintings. That would have been 1980s. You would have seen posters like this and or portraits like this in like every fancy hotel back in the 80s. That says 80s, or really the old Ferret Fawcett. I don't know if you can see this. My head in the way. The Ferret Fawcett poster from 1976. It was still very big in the 80s. I would have gone with that. I think that would have been a cool, fun thing. But you can't do any fun things anymore. You got to make some kind of statement about feminism in everything, including comics aimed at men. I told you. I told you before. Women don't read comics. Okay? Most women don't read comics. Yeah, I know, fangirls. There are a handful of you, and you read comics. Tell me, have more of your female friends gotten into the medium since it went all girly and feminist? No? Oh, I'm shocked. And tell me, have comic stores flourished since everybody in comics and the major publishers decided to get woke and go broke? No? Color me shocked. Um, Look, you know who likes beautiful women? Men and women. There's a reason women like to buy cosmetic magazines with beautiful women on them. Yes, it's an under realistic standard of beauty, blah, 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 blah. But it's also something that women like to see because they like to aspire to that. You know, men, when they buy muscle mags, they don't go, gee, I wish there was a fat guy on the cover of the muscle mag like me so I could identify with it. No. They buy the muscle mag when they see muscle guys on it because they go, I could be that guy. It's the same thing with women, okay? And comic books are a fantasy. We don't want a braless fatty dressed in a Wonder Woman outfit. I mean, this is just, in my view, terrible art. It's just terrible art. It doesn't say 80s. It just says Tumblr, where apparently all the major companies are getting their artists from. Um, it's just bad. Like, it's not Wonder Woman. It's not Gal Gadot movie Wonder Woman. What the hell is this? This is not an exciting comic that people want to pick up and read and find out more about. This is to me, a dead illustration. I think it's trying to ape Patrick Nagel to some extent, but they didn't even color it correctly. That would have required the washed out stone white look, which, oh, that's no good in this day and age. So, is it any wonder that DC is cutting its staff? Is it any wonder? Of course they are. They have to, because AT&T, who owns them, I believe, actually wants to maybe make some money. This stuff called money. And you have to understand, in the world of comics, the major superhero publishers have been living in bubbles for decades, literally decades. So the last time anything was cool and innovative in comics really was when the Image guys came on the scene, because they moved out of superheroes to do superheroes, very derivative. But the thing was, they made it more dynamic because they upped the ante. Now, they weren't great writers by any stretch, in my view, but they had new characters. They were using a computer coloring process that was supposed to make things faster, but it kind of just made things cheaper. And there was an excitement around Image Comics. I know they weren't great comics, all of them. Some were fun, some were interesting. We had interesting talent working with each other. Nobody knew what was going to happen. It was a fun time in comics at the Image era in the early 90s. Everybody wanted to buy in. And then everybody got greedy. Then everybody did alternate covers, and they tried to maintain their sales based on all these gimmicks instead of what actually prompted fans to buy them, which was all this new stuff. The problem with DC and Marvel is there's not really any new things here. This is the same old stuff. This is Wonder Woman again. And it's not even the Wonder Woman you know from the movies. At least if you get the Wonder Woman you know from the movies, that's something. That's something people want right now. Because the movies are fun. People are seeing Wonder Woman movies. They're not seeing a movie based on this Wonder Woman. This Wonder Woman doesn't look like she's in a movie. It just looks, to me, it's a dead illustration. The whole illustration's just dead and boring, and I don't know anybody who would want this. Women or men. Women are not buying comics because you aim them at women. They're just not. They don't go to comic book stores. They're run by men too. Most of them. Now, yes, there are a handful. And I know you love to prop them up and say, look, here's a female-owned comic book store, and they've got female creators and female this and female that. Nobody's coming. And you could point to Marvel and say, well, Marvel's outselling DC. Sure. In a race to get a couple of 100K sales, which in my view is nothing. I mean, we're talking about a couple of 100K here. A couple of 100K. This is nothing compared to 330 million people in the United States. It's nothing. Okay? You can't sustain major publications on a couple of 100,000. Not national publications. That's nothing. You can't even make good advertising on that. You'd have to give the comics away just to get your sales numbers up, which I suspect is what they were trying to do towards the end of some of this. This is not the way you sell comics. It's not. People loved comics because they collected them. They were dynamic. They were soap operas. Everything ended on a cliffhanger. There was this momentum that you got caught up in. There were worlds that you saw a window into. Now what are they? Now they're a platform for a tiny minority of politically ideological, mostly women and Marxists, to say, hey, we're postmodernist and we're just deconstructing everything. No one wants that. Not even the people who like those ideas are buying these comics. They just support them on Twitter and say yes, but they don't buy them because they didn't buy comics to begin with. They are just the ones who complained about them. And once they complain about something, they want it changed. And even after they complain about them and get the changes they want, they're usually still not good enough for these people. We've seen it time and time again. Look at what they're doing with Batwoman, the TV show. They got rid of the main actress, or she left. Who knows? The show's in the toilet. Then they replaced her with someone who was actually lesbian, because apparently the original actress was only bisexual, which wasn't good enough for the people of Twitter. And that still wasn't good enough. So why are you trying to appeal to the tiniest demographic in the United States? The tiniest, most annoying, most demanding demographic in the United States. A bunch of loser college kids who are Marxist and live in a fantasy world where they're on Twitter all day proclaiming the government should pay for everything. Doesn't make any sense. There are literally millions of more people who disagree with that. Millions of more people. Look, back in 2000, after September 11th, America went into overdrive with Americanism. Everybody loved the military, cops, and EMT workers. They were worshipped as minor deities here. Now they're being trashed. But back then, it was like crazy. You could literally put the Twin Towers or an EMT or a cop or the American flag on anything and sell 1 million copies of it. I mean, it was that crazy. People were nuts for America for about 5 to 10 years. Like crazy nuts. You don't get that with this because it's postmodernism, because it's Marxism. It's constant complaining and breaking down and deconstructing. And as you break down and deconstruct, it's a smaller and smaller audience. And just because some fat girl is dressed up as Wonder Woman in the illustration doesn't mean fat girls are going to watch that and say, oh, I like this Wonder Woman. She looks like me. No, because she's not going to act like an actual girl who's got weight problems. Okay? Because that's not Wonder Woman. If you were going to write that character, she'd be huffing and puffing and having problems, having medical problems, having problems being physical. That's not a superhero. Now, you can make a character like that, and maybe people would relate to him. That's one of the reasons they created Robin for Batman and Robin. They thought if they created Robin, the kids would like Batman more. Turned out they were wrong about that, too. They actually identified with Batman, and they saw Robin as the competition. So, it's not easy creating an audience and keeping it. But these radical changes, which are driven by ideology, not by organic creativity, are being pushed by people who hate these characters. They hate them, and they hate the audience that they're aimed at. Comic book stores have been strangled to death by these people. They are losing money left and right. Now, there are fans that are still hanging on, waiting for things to come back. But in order to do that, you need to hire guys who are enthusiastic about superheroes, who do heroic things and have values, not stand up and preach about ridiculous postmodernist ideas that no one cares about except for Marxists. Okay? I'm sorry to rant so much, but Jesus, I saw this cover and I'm just like, you got to be kidding me. You got to be kidding me. It's a disgrace. The entire cover is a disgrace in my view. And you could do so much more fun things with the 80s than this. I mean, and look, I got pictures for Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman was always one of those comics that DC would never cancel. So it's like it's a perfect comic for a relatively unknown writer to take on, because you could really do something with Wonder Woman. No, most writers don't do much with Wonder Woman except retread old ground. And they've kind of revamped her a little bit. They've made her more like godlike and immortal. They kind of made her the Captain America of DC Comics because of the whole movie thing. That's good. I mean, that's an upgrade, because Wonder Woman was just sort of the second fiddle girl superhero for a long time. But, she's still got to be a hero. She's still got to be beautiful. I mean, that was one of her main attributes. Like, oh my gosh, there's Wonder Woman. She's gorgeous. And that was one of the reasons men bought the damn comic. Because you could buy it and say, oh, I'd buy Wonder Woman. Oh, Wonder Woman, man, come on. Like, no, look, oh, she's hot. Yeah, I'd buy that comic. Women, same thing. Women would like to see, look, I would get someone like a Dave Sim. He'd be great on Wonder Woman as an artist. He's got a really good fashion sense. He's done a ton of comics where he's drawn amazing fashion. I'd get a Japanese artist, one of these Japanese artists to do it, because some of the Japanese guys, man, they draw clothes that you could see every little button and stitch. That's the kind of artist you need on a book like this, because it will appeal to women because the character's female. But you gotta kick it up. You gotta have a great sense of style and fashion to do Wonder Woman. You can't just like be punching monsters all day. You gotta really bring it to the table, and you gotta dismiss this ridiculous ideology where, well, we're gonna market these to girls. This is pandering to girls. It's absolutely pandering. It's not even what they want to see. You assume they want to see people like them. If you want to make that comic, that's a separate comic. People aren't actually superheroes. They want to aspire to them. So you have to give them something to aspire to. You can't put a frumpy girl in a Wonder Woman costume and put her on the cover doing nothing. She's not even saving anybody in this picture. Ugh. What are you doing, DC? Well, I'm glad they're cleaning house. Get rid of just about everybody at DC, I say, and start fresh. Start with exciting books. Wonder Woman should be punching dinosaurs and traveling through time and saving the universe. Fighting. She's the one that fights monsters. She should be fighting like magical related monsters in the DC universe, because she's from kind of a supernatural type island. She has a tie into the gods and the ancient Greeks and all that. So like her adventures should be more supernatural related. It'd be cool. Be cool to see Wonder Woman through time and fighting the Kraken. Stuff like that. And then Superman could show up, but he's strong, but gets magical stuff. Supes doesn't do too good, so Wonder Woman has to bail him out every once in a while, and they got to work together. And the other thing is too, it's like when you do superheroes, it's not about the girl has to do better than the guy, or the guy has to do better than the girl. Superheroes aren't thinking like that. They're not obsessed with race and gender and all these things. They just want to do good. They do everything to be good people. That's their whole deal. But I think a lot of the people who are making comics right now are they're so obfuscated by the current times. They don't know what's good anymore. They don't know what their values are. They haven't thought about it. And they're so hyped up in cancel culture and Twitter. They've forgotten what good is. When's the last time you went on Twitter and somebody was nice and positive? It's very rare. Very rare. So anyway, that's my rant about Wonder Woman. I'm glad DC is cleaning house. I hope it comes back strong. And let's put the fun back into comics. Let's have some fun with some damn comics. Let's punch some monsters, damn it.